In the episode of Johnny Sacco, Destroy the Dam, a huge, strange plant suddenly appears in Sagami Lake. It sucks in all the water, including a sailboat and its skipper. Attacking the monster plant with bombs only feeds it. Soon it is setting the land ablaze with flaming projectiles of its own. Only a plan devised by Johnny Sacco and enacted by Giant Robot can vanquish the return of the Super Gargoyle Vine.
Fight, Giant Robot!
What was your first impressions of this particular episode?
I think it was a clean episode. They already used the Gargoyle Vine before, so there wasn't like exposition and trying to explain what it was and get it set up like they did in that first episode. Because of that, this episode was a little more streamlined and was a lot better.
This episode was far superior to the first Gargoyle Vine episode. Only thing is the lack of Spider. Spider is not in this episode at all. I'm wondering what happened to him.
I probably figure like during production he just got sick or something. He couldn't be on set. That's my best guess.
If Emperor Guillotine did to him what he did to Dr. Botanist, then we won't be seeing Spider again.
Oh, Lord.
In this episode, Dr. Botanist, after failing again, he is destroyed by Emperor Guillotine. What do you think of Guillotine doing it, and what do you think of the absence of Botanist possibly for the rest of the series?
I feel bad. He was doing his best, and then to get turned into dust Thanos style right in front of everybody is kind of terrible. I don't think he deserved that.
Probably Emperor Guillotine inspired Thanos, for all we know.
Probably.
There was a lot of inspiration in this particular episode. We were going to deal with one of them right now. The way that the Gargoyle Vine was destroyed was different than the last time. This particular Gargoyle Vine fed off of heat, then actually had a lava flow coming out the top of it. They even drained the lake, they said, showed earlier, with this great nozzle monster, and sucked the people that were on the water into the plant. The Gargoyle Vine, since it fed off heat, Giant Robot couldn't electrify and explode it in his best Little Shop of Horrors impression. He had to use the water, hence destroy the dam. Johnny is the one who figured out, oh, hey, there's the water over there. And once the dam was destroyed, the water basically drowns the vine to the point where it opens its mouth and Giant Robot can then launch missiles into it and destroy it. This battle was about the shortest battle that they've had.
Yeah.
Which was okay, because this was more of a problem solve than a fight. But what did you think of, number one, the Gargoyle Vine's new powers, the lava, and what did you think of how Johnny took it out?
I thought it was much better. Before, it was kind of like, not lackluster, but it didn't have like that like wow effect that the first couple monsters had. And that's what we were talking about originally. I think out of all the monsters, it was probably like at the bottom of the list. This moves it up like a stage or two because the lava effect was actually pretty cool. The difficulty to take it out, they kind of felt like it was a lost cause.
I think this would move it up above Ligon Tyros. So it would be number 3 on my list.
Yeah.
After the Nucleon Ball and the Dracolon. Until Johnny figured out the water, it did make it seem impossible because everything Giant Robo would throw at it would just make it more powerful.
Yeah.
We talked about inspiration for a second, and this was very much Johnny Sacco doing the Luke Skywalker, firing into the exhaust port of the Gargoyle Vine instead of a Death Star and blowing it up. Do you think George Lucas actually saw this episode when he came up with Star Wars?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I'd say it is very similar in the way that they took it out. I thought it was interesting that they needed the water. It's kind of convenient that it just so happened to be under a dam. It makes sense though because they drained all that water out from the lake, and usually a lake is nearby a dam here and there, so it makes sense. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to take it out.
What did you think about Dr. Botanist in this particular episode?
He felt a lot more frantic. Well, at first he seemed a lot more confident because things were going as planned. Later on, as it goes on, though, he kind of seemed more frantic, and then he kind of knew by the end of it that, yeah, I'm probably done here. Enjoyed him in this episode. Maybe not as much as his first appearance, though. I feel like he was a lot more villainous in that first episode.
Here he was way under stress. You do not have a retirement plan from the Gargoyle Gang if you do not succeed. Emperor Guillotine pulled his Doctor Doom, his Darth Vader, and his Thanos and just took him out.
Yeah.
And he tried so hard, as he said, but then boom, he's gone. Guillotine, I thought, came off very well in this episode because of that. It made him much more of a threat instead of just the mastermind who sits back and does nothing while his henchmen run around. They had some issues with Azuma, the commander. I thought he did a very good job in this one. He got shot at by Dangar the Executioner. They had the whole bullet gimmick where the bullet was a tape recorder. You had a cigar bomb from Dangar the Executioner.
I thought that was pretty cool. A cigar bomb isn't something that you would expect, especially because it's like a unassuming item.
It's a real nice takeoff on the concept of the exploding cigar gag. There is one character that has been he was in the original episode, he was in this episode, and that was the expert on the Gargoyle Vine. Both times they tried to kidnap him. One time they succeeded, one time they didn't. It was Dr. Dorian was back.
He's lame. He didn't really try and help throughout the whole thing, and then he's giving up through like the whole second half of the episode. By the end of it, when Johnny Sokko's like, "Oh yeah, we can use the dam to depower it," they're celebrating after beating the Gargoyle Vine. They give the doc all of the treatment and all of like
all the credit.
Yeah, they give him all the credit. You know, that's not how that's supposed to go.
In the last episode, Dr. Dorian was one of these never give up guys. He basically had to be hypnotized and forced to get the gargoyle seed.
He had a strong will.
Seed.
Yeah.
Here, he was like, I quit. There's nothing we can do, until Johnny comes up with something.
Maybe it gave him like Reed Richards can't think of anything because he's under stress, and then someone else comes up with an idea kind of.
Yeah, but Reed never gives up. That's the difference here. Reed might be under stress and not know what to do, but Mr. Fantastic is not throwing in the towel. You had these idiots that wouldn't listen to him in the beginning, right? When he was correct. He kind of pouts. It is not a good showing for Dr. Dorian, and I really wouldn't care if he never comes back. Jerry Mono, who was awake throughout the entire episode and struggled mightily to hold a female teacher back who was stressed about two kids about to be burned to death, with a great look on his face when he was holding her, and he's like, "Arr!" It's like, although she's not a trained fighter apparently. But anyway,
he didn't play too much of a big role, I don't think. We saw him in a few scenes here and there. Not too much to talk about for him, I guess. I kind of wish he did have a bigger role, because I do gotta say he's probably one of my more favorite characters.
Here he was kind of he's there for Johnny, of course. Most of what he did was evacuate people. What did you think of the effects in this episode in general?
The fire looked fairly real, so I'm not sure if they actually made like a set, like a mini set, and then just lit it on fire, because that's what it looked like. It wasn't as noticeable from like different ranges. The only thing you could really notice was like the smoke. The smoke kind of looked like a picture overlay. But other than that, the fire and the effects did look nice.
I like the effects. Very few times that I see the strings in the battle between the Gargoyle Vine and the jet planes. Of course, there were a couple times where you could see the strings, but for the most part, you didn't see the strings. I don't think I saw the strings even once on the Gargoyle Vine, and when it started launching the lava out of its top, I don't think I saw anything.
I don't recall seeing any strings at all. So.
I did love the camera work when Giant Robot destroys the dam. Giant Robot in this, he doesn't show off any new powers, but I did like what they did with him. Saving the kids from the fire was cool. Destroying the dam was cool. Now, you were right. Rockets probably would have been a more effective way of doing it, but at least this way he could aim it.
Yeah.
And then the battle, what there was of it with the Gargoyle Vine, they used the robot well, I thought.
Yeah, no, I definitely think played the biggest role here. What we were talking about was when he had punched the hole into the dam. I figured he probably could have just blown it up with all the rockets, and then that would have just like over the Gargoyle Vine. At least for me, I figured headcanon, he was probably just saving the rockets so he could actually launch them into the mouth as the plan was. He did what he had to do as the robot, and I hope he gains more self-autonomy.
Johnny is definitely the hero. Now, he's the hero of the show, and he's definitely the hero of this particular episode, because he never gave up where Dr. Dorian threw in the towel. Johnny was the one, he sent the robot there, and initially, and I liked this a lot, they had a child's idea, right? They were going to save the school by building a wall of rock. That would never have worked. The fire was coming and it was going to consume them. Giant robot lands, Johnny lands Giant Robot, and they're afraid of the robot. They don't want to approach the robot. They're afraid of the fire. They're afraid of the robot. And it's not till they see another kid Johnny in his full unicorn garb, and he looks to be about their age, and he tells them, come on, get up, that they actually come and do it.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too. I thought that was cool.
I thought they showed good on Johnny, kind of the leadership idea that he's building up.
Like I had mentioned in other episodes, because he's the main character, I was feeling like he should have got more scenes and he should have got more like leadership roles and just stuff like that. And so this episode, they gave him a lot of that, and that's what I was really hoping to see. I definitely think that's top tier for me.
These last 2 episodes, Johnny has really shined.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a yay or nay on our new villain. Dangar the Executioner showed up for about 3 seconds in the last episode, if I remember correctly, but he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
Here, he actually takes action. He shoots at Azuma to get the bullet in there and causes the car crash. He goes to capture Dorian. He doesn't succeed, but he ends up throwing the exploding cigar. He has an odd pet that seems to be on his arm halfway through the thing.
Fish.
Like a huge fish. He has a great design. He's got a pirate peg leg, bald sort of head with like dark brown hair coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
He has some kind of design and almost like a third eye in his forehead and like Egyptian kind of makeup around, and then these big fang-like teeth on the top. Kick it off, he's definitely a yay for me because I love the look alone. I miss Spider, but I definitely liked this character. Sometimes he's a little hard to understand, I guess, because of the teeth, maybe. That's why they were doing that intentionally. Yeah. I liked him, and I'd like to see him back. He did survive the guillotine purging because he watched Botanist get destroyed, and then Guillotine basically tells him, hey, you better shape it up or else.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The most thing that stood out for me was his design, and it's very eye-catching. I give that a positive yay. I hope to see him more, and obviously because Dr. Botanist is out of the picture now, he's gonna get his big role, so we'll see what he does as a villain. I'll fully grade him from there.